Hey, I'm Dan, and this is Dan's Planes. While I wait on the grease for the retracts, figured I'd go ahead and knock out taping off the areas that I need to, the canopy for the clear coat, and then back here, taping off first what I'm going to do with the blue coat. But I know this is low-tech painter's tape, but it's having trouble even staying stuck to itself. Like over here, I keep pressing this down and it's not staying. So hope it'll stay for a couple of days for me to get back to this. But either way, it's also not sticking to this paper very well. So try to get this paint on, at least the blue on, maybe tomorrow. Then it's a matter of the red lines on the rudder and touching up the silver, but I'm not going to get answers, I don't think, on the type of paint that was used on this originally until early this week. So we'll just get it when we get it. So it's the next day, and like I feared, a lot of this tape has been popping up. I keep re-pressing it down, but then it keeps popping up. So I have to keep pressing it down. So years ago, probably 2015-ish, I researched pretty heavily on what to do to airbrush. And the results of those, or that research, was to get this compressor, which I can't tell you now who I got that from. It was noted as being very tight, no leaks, no oil or water issues, consistent, and quiet. And I'd agree with all of those things in the little bit that I've used it. And then I also picked up this Iwata HP-CR, which I think is a beautiful gun. Hold, please. I think they did a beautiful job with it, and again, the little bit that I've used it, it's done a great job, so I've been really happy with that. I'd also picked up Badger Airbrush paint stirrer. Throw a couple batteries in there. It'll stir your paint for you. So I had jotted down, well, first of all, I collected two articles that Roy Valancourt had written. He's kind of the go-to source for latex painting. And he said a lot in his articles, so I boiled them down to kind of an outline. But something I totally missed when I got the paint, I didn't make sure that it was exterior paint. I bought interior paint. So that was $5.50 wasted. I'm going to go to Lowe's and see if they'll return it. Sometimes I've seen customized paints that were returned or maybe never picked up, but I doubt they'll take it back. So, $5.50 learning lesson. So I'll have to get that paint remade. I don't know if this silver I got is indoor or outdoor. Being just a craft paint, I think it's probably indoor. But since my bottom of my wings have so many areas to touch up, um, I may as well try touching them up with this. And if it ends up flaking off, then I'm no different than where I started. So Roy had said you don't need to clear coat latex for gasoline engines. Again, that's if you use exterior paint. Whereas for glow, you definitely have to add an epoxy clear coat. Otherwise, the glow will make the paint gooey and gummy. So I've actually got two spinners I need to paint red. One for my P-40 and one for my Spitfire, both Hanger 9s, both that I have Sato 100s, and then I was lucky enough to score Kelly-O exhausts for them. So I need to paint those spinners. Now the other thing about this, which I did not like about latex, is the cure time is long. And by long, I mean weeks or months for it to do a final cure. So I've had some trouble finding where he specifically said how long to cure it. Now he said give it overnight, I believe, before you start masking to paint off other areas. But then I think he said about 2.5, 3 weeks. By that time, when you press on it, your fingerprint should not show up. Before that time, your fingerprint could show up, but it should levelize itself and go away so you never see the mark. Anyway, but I also thought I read, and this is the question, I thought I had read somewhere that he said that it took 2 to 3 months for latex to completely cure and to outgas. So I'm not quite sure on that. I've been emailing him, but he's been retired for many, many years. So I don't know if he'll keep writing or not. So I got to swap out the blue. I can still use the silver. Also, I learned back years ago that you buy some glass to practice spraying on to get your mixture right. So I bought this. It's a cutting plate. I didn't want to just go in and cut a piece of glass like at Lowe's because then you've got the really sharp edges. So this was only, a few bucks, not a big deal. It's smooth on one side and then bumpy on the other side. So I can just use this smooth side to make sure I'm not getting orange peel or splatters or other issues. So I can practice on that and simply wipe it off. If I remember, I'll put that bullet list in the description as to what Roy's articles were talking about on how to airbrush. That's all for now. Okay, Princess and I are back again. You're gonna have to get down now, baby girl. There you go. So I forgot I had bought an airbrush holder. So I think I don't know if I mentioned this in previous clips. I did a bunch of research back in 2015, I think, and bought a bunch of the equipment to airbrush, had some things to airbrush, and I still haven't got to those because other projects came up, which I'm sure I'm not the only one in this hobby that has that problem. So here's a paint spray booth, which I'm not going to have it turned on to vent the exhaust. We're dealing with latex, so I'm not going to wear an air mask, and I'm not going to turn on the vent for the air booth. I can put my cutting board up there so I can have a nice attack with the air gun, a nice angle of attack. So I had to go back and get outdoor blue. I had accidentally bought interior, so now I've got exterior. So we're going to mix up the blue with this mixer. You just put it in, turn it on, and what I do is cup my hand over it like this. So if there is any splattering, then hopefully it just gets on my hand. I can just wipe my hand off. So I got plenty of paper towels. I got some homemade cleaner. Pulled out my Floetrol and windshield washer fluid. What else? And I've got, let's see, acrylic cleaner here. Now, I don't understand the difference between acrylic and latex. Then I've also got airbrush cleaner here. So I'm using the Roy Valencourt latex method, which I just printed off a outline of a couple articles that I read of his. I mean, since that was back in 2015, and he had, he must have written them years before that, and then he retired. So there was also another one, another video on YouTube. I'm gonna put the link down at the bottom if I remember of the description of this video. But basically, a guy from Badger goes through every step of equipment and how to use it and what to do and all that. And so I've re-reviewed notes I took from that. I didn't re-watch the video. It's like an hour and a half long, but I probably will. So for now, I'm going to use the same airbrush settings, PSI, that I had locked in there from last time I used it, so I don't really remember where I was at. I want to say it was like 20, 30 PSI, but I don't remember. I've got a couple of these guys so I can throw some paint into this. So these I ordered online. These are disposable eyedroppers. Then these, you can get these, they sell them in a pack of all different sizes at Michael's Arts and Crafts, and Michael's always runs coupons and sales, so it's good to get on their mailing list because you can get 60% off coupons, or buy one get one, or 50% off. So it's good to get coupons from them. So I'm going to stir up this bad boy. Then I'm going to put some paint in there. Then I'm going to add some Floetrol to it and add some windshield washer fluid, which the guy at Badger said you don't do that. You don't use windshield washer fluid to thin latex paints, but Roy said you do, and Roy is kind of well known in the community at being an authority on this. So I'm kind of thinking that it's not right or wrong if both people have a difference in opinion and both people are very reputable. So it probably can or cannot be used. Maybe just use water. But I'm going to stick with Roy's method here. This is really the second time I'll have airbrushed. The first time was way back in like 2002. So if you think what the internet was in 2002, it wasn't nearly like it is today. YouTube, I don't believe, existed. So I couldn't get information. I just shot from the hip. Did the best I could, but thankfully it turned out pretty fantastic. I was pretty happy with that. That was on my first Green Zero. All right. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, correction from the last thing I said, where I said I'd only airbrushed once, and that was way back in like 2002 or so. I did buy this equipment and I did airbrush something. I had totally forgotten, but I definitely airbrushed this block here, and I know I bought some paint for an Edge 540T that I had, and I painted something, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was. And I also just tried painting on some what do you call it, the big sketch pad sheets. So I did do this before. All right, we've got the paint in there, and about 20% windshield washer fluid, and then Floetrol, I completely guessed, because this is part art, part science, and it's just a lot of testing and dialing in between your viscosity of the paint and the pressure that you're blowing at and what you're putting the material on. So Roy's first step is strain the paint before painting. Well, this was brand new paint and it didn't really have any things to strain out of it, so I didn't do that step. Wet and dry sand with 300 grit primer. That, I believe, was for doing aluminum, as in like aluminum spinners. So thin latex with windshield washer fluid, start at 20% thinner. Floetrol, 2 ounces per quart of paint. So we're dealing in minute quantities here, so again, I just guessed. So mix all this up, put it in the airbrush, give it a try. So I'll turn you guys off for a second while I turn the air compressor on for however long. Okay, it looks like I was around 45 pounds of pressure, 48 pounds of pressure. So I'm going to trust my previous self in that, thinking that it worked well. So I filled my bucket about half full of paint. So now we're just going to give it a try. I've got nothing coming out of here. You'll hear that air compressor. It's not very loud at all. I am getting nothing. Well, I'm getting nothing, and since I'm getting nothing, sounds like I'm going to have to disassemble my airbrush, which I do remember I had taken it apart to clean it last time, so it should have been spick and span, all good and polished. So I don't know what's going on now, but it's sat for many years, so who knows. I'll dump the paint out and clean this up and then get back to you guys. Okay, there was dried up blue paint around here in the needle already. I don't know why I dried up that quick. Also, I don't know if I had my needle set right, but I've opened it now more. So we'll see. Got a very light mist of blue, and then it stopped. Same problem. What am I missing? Okay, very light mist of blue. I don't know what I did that made that happen though. I just wonder if it's getting a little paint down there and then this air is going across the paint but it's not flowing out for some reason, so then the paint dries. Had a very tiny bit come out. Whoa, there's a ton. Okay, I don't know what just happened there, but hey, there's me. I don't know what just happened, but it blew that really heavy circle. So I don't know what is going on there. Okay. So yes, it's getting on there. It sure looks like the right amount. Considering you want to do a light coat and do several light coats. Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, my viscosity was way too thick. It should have been the consistency of about 2% milk, and I was definitely not there, so I switched that. Then, second of all, like I said, I haven't touched this equipment in many years, so I completely forgot that when this button is pressed forward and you press down on it, it just allows air to come out. As you slide it back, that is what opens up the needle orifice, so more material will come out. So I kept spraying air, wondering why nothing was coming out, because I'm a dumbass, or Dumas. So that was the mystery with that. Mystery solved. I've also backed off my PSI now on my air compressor to where it is at about 30-ish PSI. So I'm going to just spray on this cardboard backing here a little bit to make sure it's okay, but I think it's going to be okay. And then we are ready to rock and roll on the plane. So let's try this a little bit. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Dan from Dan's Planes. I just want to share some content about RC planes, something I've been passionate about since childhood. I'm hoping I can teach something to someone, I can start some discussion and learn some things from others. So let's just have some fun and learn some things together. If you enjoyed what you watched, it would really help me out if you could like, subscribe, and share. And if you feel that it helped you out in some way, or it might help future viewers, I'd really appreciate it if you'd visit my Patreon page and become a patron. It's like throwing a dollar tip into a guitar case when you pass by. It helps to fund future content and future projects that I'll be working on. I plan to show some past content. I have some other flights and I have some fly-in events that I've been to. And I also plan to show future flights and future repairs, as well as building ARFs, and if I can ever get back to it, building my top flight Spitfire. So there's a lot of content to come, but it's viewers like you that are able to support what I'm doing, and by doing that, I'm able to spend more time creating that content in the future. So I'd really appreciate it. But either way, thanks for watching, and thanks for any support, and I wish you blue skies and good speed.